What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to generate and read from QR codes using the PyQRCode and CV2 modules in Python. All right, so QR codes, obviously incredibly common, incredibly versatile. They're essentially just two-dimensional barcodes, but they can tell you basically any string of text because they can vary in size based on how many characters you need in the string. And obviously they're all over the place right now, particularly because every restaurant and every other place in the world started using a QR code instead of a menu in the last 2-3 years because of COVID, but they're just all around something that's kind of here to stay for scanning technology, and it can be really useful to know how to create those in Python and also how to read those in Python. So we're going to do both in this video, and we're going to start with creating them. And to do that, we're going to use a module called import PyQRCode. And to get this, if you don't have it already, you just need to do pip install PyQRCode in your terminal window. Mine's already installed, but just know that you should run this if you need to. Okay, so I'll leave it there in case you need to come back to that in the video. And also, some of you may find that your computer does not already know how to save something as a PNG file that might not be intrinsic to it. So you may need to add this line of code. You may need to do pip install PyPNG, and then you may need import PNG, just like this. My computer does not require this, so I could have it in my code. It's just not going to add anything, but I will say if you're getting an error message that like PNG is not a recognized format or anything in a minute when we get to it, know that you might need to come back and add these lines of code, okay? But so now let's go ahead and do the important parts, which is what data do we want to save as the QR code. And initially, I'm just going to make this a plain text string. Okay, so literally no URLs, no fancy anything. It's not pointing you anywhere particular on the internet. It's just a string of text because at its root level, that is all a QR code really needs. So then we're going to save that string of text as a QR code using the PyQRCode module and then .create. And then in here, we're just going to put the data that we want it to turn into a QR code. And then we're going to create and save QR code as image files. Okay, and first we'll do it as a PNG. So we're going to take that URL and do .png and then give it a name. And I'm just going to do myqr1.png. That's going to be the name of this image that I want to create. And then this scale variable, because by default, PyQRCode is going to kind of give you the smallest possible QR code it could generate. So you can just use this scale variable to make it a little bigger of an image that can make it a little bit easier to read, a little bit easier to detect on mobile. I like scale equals 6, but that's something you can just play around with as you want. And this is actually all the code we need to create our first QR code. So if I run this and I open this up, then if you were to pause this video right now and look at this QR code with your phone, or hopefully you're coding along and you've done the same thing, hover over this and your phone is going to scan and detect this barcode as this QR code as plain text string, or at least it better. Okay, but now let's do something a little more fun. Let's say you found a cool image online that you wanted to share with people. So you just wanted to leave kind of a URL link to that online image. And I promise if you scan this image, it's not going to take you to anything nefarious or bad. This is a very harmless image that it's going to take you to. But now I'm not even going to rename it. I'm just going to overwrite this QR code with a new QR code. So like if I were to run this again now, it's going to run and this QR code just got changed to the new one. You can kind of see immediately how this simple, like 3 lines of code really is all you need to take you all the way to a URL on the internet, anywhere that you choose. Now let's take a look at kind of the flip side of this, which is what if I have an image that has a QR code in it and I want my Python code to figure out what that QR code's text is. To do that, we need another module, which is going to be called CV2. And if you don't have CV2, then you need to run pip install, and then this module is called OpenCV-Python when you install it using pip, but then it's just CV2 when you import it. But this is going to be kind of the computer vision module that is going to take an image, recognize a QR code, and pull the text out of it. And so to do that, we're going to create a few new variables. We're going to create one that's going to be just what image are we reading it out of? And so now let's say myQR, and let's do a new one for this. Let's say myQR2.png, and let's grab a new link. Let's just grab this one. Okay. And so let's say we've got a new link, and we're going to create a new image, myQR2.png. And then in this image equals CV2, and then it's got to be IMRead, and then we put the address of the file in quotes like this. Okay, so now we're saying image is equal to our CV2 module dot IMRead image read, and then just the text file. And you can see or the image file. And you can see we don't even have this image yet, but our code is going to create it when we run it again. And then this CV2 code is going to go into the image and figure out what that QR code actually means. So it may seem a little silly because obviously what that QR code's text is going to correspond to is this link that we're going to pass into it. But this is a really just useful way of showing how we detect QR codes in images using the CV2 module. So let's set up a detector variable that I'll call DET, and it's just going to be QR code detector like that, and you don't need to put anything in those parentheses. And then by default, when we detect and decode an image, it's going to pass three things back: the actual value, the points where it detected it at, and then some state code information. You just need to be prepared to receive these three arguments because that's the standard that the module passes back. But for now, really all that we need is we want to see what the value is just to verify that this is working, okay? And so to do that, we're just going to print out the val that we get back. And so in our terminal window, when we run this, we should see a couple things. We should get myqr2.png because we're creating it right here. And then we should also get down in our terminal window as an output the text of the link that we had right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and run it. And you can see we get myqr2. But then we also get down in here, we get this URL. And if you're a little skeptical right now and you say like, oh, big deal, the URL is right here. Well, let's just change this to myqr1.png, where now the text is nowhere to be found, right? That image of a cool cat, which if you didn't look at QR1, you should go back and look at QR1. But now if I run this again, you'll see it's able to pick apart that image, even though we don't have that text stored anywhere in this program anymore. So it's just reading this QR code and it's able to turn it back into text. Okay, so this is obviously some pretty simple code and a very basic and efficient way to both create QR codes and read QR codes back. And one thing I'll add is that you can use URL dot to save it as a few different file types. Probably the next most common, if you don't want to save it as a PNG, would be saving it as an SVG file, which essentially isn't going to have a background. That's really the biggest difference. But it still has that scale variable. It still runs the exact same way. And so if I were to run that now, you'll just see I also get a myqr2.svg, and that's just, it's got some extra like code behind it, and it doesn't have a background. So that's just the kind of difference between those two. But I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions about how to use this application and go a little bit further, be sure to let me know about in the code in the comments below. I've got code on the brain. But I hope you found this useful. Be sure to scan this barcode, figure out what to do once you get there. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy 2023. Hope it's an awesome year. We're all going to learn tons of new stuff. And thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck with your code. Thanks. Bye.